really what happened, I think the icing on the cake was I spent that summer with Eddie, about 6.5, 7 weeks training. And he and Brendan Hansen completely redid my breaststroke with two insanely simple technique changes that were ridiculously hard to make. But, Eddie's whole philosophy was stop trying to beat Michael and Ryan. Let's go around them. You've got a really good breaststroke. It's not as good as your IM, but let's see if we can model it after Brendan's and see what we can do in the breaststroke events. And that summer at Nationals, which was qualifying for World Championships and Pan Pacs for the following year, I again swim out of my mind in the IM, drop another 1.5 seconds based on where I was at trials in 2004 in the 200, drop almost 2 more seconds in the 400 IM. But again, I get third at trials and qualifying. And at this point, I'm now ranked third in the world in the 200 IM, but I'm still behind Michael and Ryan, who are 3 seconds ahead of me. So it's not even like, oh, I'm close to these guys. They have separated themselves between themselves and the rest of the world by so much, it was ridiculous. So again, 2 more third place finishes in IM, but I dropped 6.5 seconds in that summer with my new breaststroke, go from a 2:17 in the 200 meter breaststroke to a 2:11 and get second at Nationals in the 200 breaststroke to qualify for my first, A national team, i.e. the World Championship team.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you tell us what those 2 simple changes were?
Yeah, they're not secrets by any means. And this is where Eddie's genius as a coach comes into play, where he can simplify things that are so complex and make them so easy and make them make sense that it's shocking. And so for me, the first one was pull wider, right? So at that time I was swimming with a breaststroke technique that was narrow and fast, right? Keep your head down, narrow and fast.
That's what people do now.
Well, I guess things are changing. I mean, look, I haven't necessarily studied Adam Peaty, but he's got a real high tempo. That's all I know. And you can't argue with anything that guy's doing right now.
No.
But for me, it was pull wider. So make sure when you finish your out sweep, your fingertips are pointing at the lane ropes. That's wide. I mean, that is literally having your wingspan almost straight out. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. Whereas before I was probably stopping my hands and starting my in sweep at like maybe 45, 50 degree angles, The next one was at the very last minute, when you think it's too late on your in sweep, wait 1 second longer and then pick your head up to take your breath and look straight down at the other end of the pool. Whereas before I was not picking my head up, keeping it down, keeping it nice and in line with your spine.
Yeah.
And not moving my head at all. So this was stop doing that, pick your head up, look straight down at the other end of the pool, take your breath, put it back down and get back in line. What that did, it enables you to slide your hips naturally under you. Breaststroke is the only stroke with a dead motion, right? It's the only place when you look at a velocity graph on a stroke, and they do this at the training center, breaststroke has a dead spot. Right? Or it did. Now with the way they're swimming, maybe it doesn't. Maybe the guys have found ways to eliminate it. But this was a way to minimize that dead space and also get your hips in the proper position to set you up for an explosive propulsion forward. And you do that by lifting your head straight up. Again, you watch Brendan swim. All the pictures he had, he's looking straight forward.
So is this a technique that Eddie was teaching all his breaststrokers, or was these changes specific to you?
To my understanding, he was teaching everyone. Again, Eddie's philosophy, and I'm assuming it hasn't changed, it's pretty simple. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it was ironic because people would come to Eddie and observe him and watch him and how he coached and trained, and the joke was, guys, I'm doing the same thing I am today that I was in 1980, and in the 70s when I was coaching swimmers. Nothing's changed. It's all the same. It just works.
Just really good stuff.
Just really good stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's where, yeah, he was modeling everyone's breaststroke like that. Now, again, there are details that come into play that will make someone, faster or more efficient than someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the intangibles. But from a raw perspective, it was those two changes. Now, look, I already had a very narrow, fast kick to go along with that. That was just something that I had naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he has a tip for the kick, but I never needed it because I had a really fast, narrow kick.
Sure. Gotcha.